And I'm interested in talking about and running a discussion session on Will Allen's The Good Food Revolution, because I found it to be an absolutely engaging and inspiring book. And I'm personally interested in the idea of urban agriculture. I'm very interested in some of the themes that Will Allen brings up in The Good Food Revolution. The theme of the centrality of cooking in his life and in his family background. He talks about how his mother was always preparing fresh food and bringing fresh food and sharing fresh food with their family and friends. And the centrality to a community of food production. We go out to a fast food restaurant, or we go to the grocery store and we buy processed food. So I think people don't have any experience with food production. There's no community food production anymore. And we're losing our experience with cooking, with food preparation. And, think of every holiday meal you've ever been involved in. Where's everybody hanging out? They're in the kitchen. And there's an interesting connection to our own history and the evolution of Homo sapiens, our species. This guy right here, this is Australopithecus afarensis, running around about 2.5 million years ago. And Australopithecus afarensis has a very small brain, sort of chimpanzee-sized brain, and a very large set of jaws, a very large, strong food processing apparatus here. No evidence at all of any kind of technology for processing food, just going out and eating raw meat and raw vegetables. Fast forward a million years or so to the next step in our evolution. This is Homo erectus. Homo erectus has a brain that's almost twice as large as the brain of Australopithecus, but a much smaller jaw, much smaller food processing apparatus. So how is that possible? How do you have twice the brain with twice the calorie requirements? At least twice the calorie requirements, and a smaller, less of an ability to feed yourself. Well, the archaeological and paleontological evidence suggests that what made that possible was that these guys developed technology to process food. They developed stone tools for cutting and processing meat, but more importantly, they mastered the use of fire. We have direct archaeological evidence from about 1 million years ago that Homo erectus was using fire to cook, to process food. When you cook food, meat or vegetables, you alter the proteins, you alter the starches, the carbohydrates into a much more nutritious and digestible form. So, our evolutionary origins are probably revolve around cooking. And if you can imagine a group of these guys hanging around a fire, cooking their food well into the night, instead of having to sort of hide when it got dark and cower from the predators and whatever might be threatening them, they could hang out around the fire cooking their food, and that brought them together into community. And you can almost imagine the origins of language and culture in these groups of hominids cooking around the campfire at night. Fast forward again to about 12,000 years ago, to the first agricultural revolution, when our species, Homo sapiens, stops the hunter-gatherer existence and begins to settle down and domesticate plants and animals, and we invent farming. And farming is arguably the most important cultural invention in our species history, because once you start farming, you can produce and store a surplus of food, which permits you to settle down in a single place. It allows some individuals in the community to specialize and begin pursuing things besides food production. And that's the whole basis of technology and culture and art. Our deep evolutionary and our more recent cultural origins are heavily connected to cooking, food processing, and food production. And I think Will Allen's book does a wonderful job of pointing out that we have become, in our modern society, distanced from the things that have made us human, that bind us together, and that we would do ourselves a huge favor if we could get back to food production, involving people in the production of the food that they eat, and involving them in the production of fresh, healthy food that needs to be cooked that in a way that brings people together. you.